Hi, and thank you, and welcome back to this new 3CLogic Fireside chat. Very excited to introduce you to today's guest, Sharath, who is the co-founder and CRO of Observe.ai. Sharath, welcome, and thanks for joining.
Hey, Jake, thank you so much. And I'm doing a real hand wave. I'm a very real person in this virtual world. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So, look, in the spirit of Fireside chat, I'm just going to dive right into it. But I think it might help for our audience to just get a little bit of insight in terms of what does Observe.ai do. So, can you give us sort of like a quick summary?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best elevator pitch for Observe AI is, hey, whenever you've called a call center, if you've done a single call to a support center anytime in your life, the first message you hear is this call is being recorded for internal training, quality, and compliance purposes. What we do at Observe is essentially we've built a workflow that can automate all of these three functions.
Okay, so that's interesting. So let's talk about this. So obviously last year, 2020, one for the record books. Now it's a new year, but one of the things that 2020 drove was this big emphasis around the digitization of channels, work, self-service, the idea that there's a lot that can be, off sent to or sent off to AIs, and that maybe the human component is too expensive, less relevant. But in your case, you would be advocating that conversations are still going to happen. What's your take on what 2020 launched or accelerated, and what do you see for this year? How does that impact what you see in the field for what it is that Observe solves?
See, again, we'll have to admit 2020 was a tough year, right? It was tough on people, it was tough for companies, tough for businesses, lots of unpredictability, right? From elections to the pandemic to everything that happened around us. But also
Right.
2020 for technology was probably the most interesting year, right? You've seen massive companies being built on the basis of one single transformation. But in
Mhm.
2020, we actually had three different transformations that actually happened together. There was digital transformation that we all talk about. There was massive amounts of cloud migration that has never happened at that rate. And then there was this whole AI transformation that literally originated in 2020, right? So pandemic, for all the bad things it brought along with it, also brought in these three transformations and accelerated the rate of this transformation, right?
Mhm.
Yes, digital transformation has accelerated. People talk about, okay, now it's the end of voice, everything will be digital now. But when I see for real what's exactly is happening is, instead of two Black Friday events that happens every single year, there was about 120 of those in 2020. So
Right.
the volume of customer service interactions just skyrocketed, right? Just to quote some examples, right? Instacart expanded their customer support arc by 600% in 1 year, right?
Mhm.
So when you expand at that rate, yes, not everything will be voice, but it's not that voice is dead, right? All the different channels exploded, but still, now when you're going more and more digital, when companies are going more and more online, the value of every single customer interaction, especially on a channel like voice, actually becomes 10 times more important, right? You're
Right.
not going to your physical store to buy your grocery, right? You're ordering online. So when you have a problem, you actually call, you actually expect extremely sophisticated service, right? So yes, the overall number of interactions has exploded. Yes, chat and offline and digital transformation has accelerated, but it has not lowered the amount of voice conversations at all.
So we're actually talking. You're looking at it from the perspective of scale, and that's interesting. I mean, I know at 3CLogic, I mean, we specialize in voice, and one of the things that some of our customers or prospects are always, surprised to hear us say is, look, we're not here to make sure that you create more call volume. In fact, we'd love to help you reduce it, but we do want to help you have more meaningful customer engagements, conversations. And so then, in the context of what you solve for, if each of those conversations are amplified in terms of their value, then having the insight in terms of how well those conversations are managed makes it all the more valuable, right? You can't fall back on sample sizes anymore. I mean, what's your take on that?
No, absolutely. I think almost till about 2 years ago, right? So till and again, the way I see is every single transformation event in this industry actually gives you opportunity to be better and actually build better businesses, right?
Mhm.
If cloud transformation had not happened at the rate it has happened today, right? Doing anything more than a single percent sample or a 2% sample on all these different voice interactions would have been impossible because you could never scale, right?
Right.
But today, what has happened is there is ability for innovative companies to actually build an infrastructure or a platform for you to audit 100% of all your interactions, voice, non-voice, surveys, everything, right? But with this ability, what it also now is providing companies is now you're not forced to take a decision on a 1% sample or a 2% sample. And that's what we at Observe have been advocating, right? Hey, it's not 2010. It does not cost you millions of dollars to actually understand what your customers are actually expressing as their problems, right? People always ignore the entire voice data set because they assume that it's super expensive to mine voice data. So let's just figure out what my customer is saying on Twitter, right? But the problem is you probably have 2% of your entire customer base on Twitter. Most of them are actually still talking to contact center agents in a call center, right? So what do you do with all that information and data? And today with all these transformational events, it's not as expensive as it used to be to actually mine contact center conversations. And with the value of every conversation going up significantly, especially in 2020, now companies are willing to invest on mining all these conversations, and they want to make sure that they never take decisions on a 1% sample, which is where companies like Observe, we grew 6x last year, right?
Right.
Our entire team, we had never sold any product remote. We were forced to, but our phone lines did not stop ringing, literally, right? Our inbound traffic was through the roof. Our site traffic was through the roof, not just because we are just a great product, but it was just this whole industry change where everybody realized that, hey, monitoring every single interaction is important. The value of every single interaction is actually very important. The value of every single customer is a lot more important today. And that brought in this massive change in general.
And I agree with you. So give me a snapshot of what does 2021 look like? I mean, and again, you have a differentiated view. I don't think one that people would argue with, but everyone's so focused on digital channels, that sometimes voice is a forgotten yet truly important component of the total customer service value chain. I think you'd agree with that. So when you look at 2021 and then where you think things are going in the next 3-5 years, let's assume we don't have another 120 Black Fridays between now and then, right? What does that look like to you? What gets you excited about the now, and what do you think is the trend?
I think what gets excited me about now is, in general, the volume of customer service interactions has grown significantly, right? So this industry used to grow by 3-4% year over year. It's probably will grow about 15-20% year over year for the next 5 years, right? So there's a lot of opportunities for people to innovate and coexist, right? The second thing that I get really excited about is, yes, digital transformation will continue, automation will continue, but every single channel will grow, right? I've been hearing about voice is dead for 5 years now, right? But the latest stat from Forrester still says 73% of the customer service interactions are still voice, right? So nobody is taking away voice from any of these interactions. But yeah, all the other channels will still expand. As a company, we'll also expand beyond voice. We are bringing in omni-channel, we're bringing in chat, we're bringing in email. But we still think voice, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, will predominantly be the largest channel, right? But what will essentially change in this industry is a lot of workflows that was essentially human-led will essentially have a human AI loop that will be bought in, right? A quality function, for example. Like the problem of not being able to monitor 100% of the call was because you cannot have so many people doing just quality audits, right? So technology will come in, it'll make a job of a quality analyst audit a call 10 times faster, right? Technology will come in, it'll actually provide real-time guidance to an agent who's actually on the phone to make that agent 5 times more effective. Technology will come in, it'll make a supervisor who's responsible for 10 agents now with scale can essentially take care of 50 agents because he now has all these tools at his disposal where he can monitor calls much more effectively, right? So technology will actually come and change all this behavior. And we believe as companies like 3CLogic and Observe, we are at that cusp of that innovation where, yes, the interactions are going up. The value of every interaction is going up. AI and innovation are actually making people more effective and more important. And thus the value of this whole industry will actually go up. And that's what I'm super excited about.
So let's talk about another variable that obviously I think is going to continue to play out this new year. Obviously, it's an outcome of what happened in 2020, which is everyone working from home. Now, in the context of speech analytics, sentiment analysis, and sort of the oversight that you specialize in, I'm imagining one of the other things that you're addressing, or presumably I'd be curious if you see this to be an ongoing trend based on the conversations you have with your customers, is this whole work from home model, right? I mean, supervisors don't have the luxury, in addition to not listening to 1,000 calls because it's not scalable, they also don't have the luxury of walking the hallways and seeing where an agent may or may not need help. So that oversight from a distance, right? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I think work from home and remote work is here to stay. I think one of the biggest things most enterprise support organizations realized last year is that your agents does not have to show up to work. You don't have to see them physically to make sure that they're actually productive. People are comfortable working from home. And if you look at most BPOs, right, 25 to 30% of their cost is actually real estate, right? Now, they can actually do away with that cost. Most customers that they serve, even large enterprise customers, customers in sensitive industries like financial services, are all okay if you have the right technology to redact the right information. You have the right screen recording tools to kind of capture agents' emotion, agent sentiment so that there's no fraud happening. So technology has helped in making sure remote work can scale. And
Mm-hmm.
every single BPO I've spoken to, and I've spoken to almost everybody in the top 10, almost everybody says that 25% of their workforce at a minimum will be remote forever. And some companies are going to the extreme where they're probably having 50 to 75% of their workforce being remote forever, right? This is
Yep.
actually democratized agent hiring. Now I can have agents in Dominican Republic. I can have agents in South Africa. I can have agents in India. I can have agents in Philippines. I can have like agents even in the US, in North Dakota, in Arkansas, right?
Right.
And still have one tool and one process that unifies everybody, and it gives an organization insane amount of scale that they never had, right? So I'm personally super excited by this trend, and I really think companies have realized that there's so much of cost that can be saved, which will only mean that they can scale much faster with remote work. And I personally think remote is here to stay. Like our company grew 3x this year. There are like 100 people I've never seen in my life who actually work for me, and they're all doing extremely well.
Yep. Yep. I know our entire organization went remote as of February, and we haven't set foot back in the office. And yet it didn't really impact our ability to operate effectively. And
Yeah.
same thing when you talk about the importance of cloud migration as one of those pillars, those events or outcomes from the year prior. For us, I mean, all of our customers, because they were using 3CLogic as a cloud solution, they just sent their agents home, right? They picked up their desktop or laptop, went home, and their operations, that business continuity was in play. And then you layer on something like Observe.ai and the insight into the effectiveness of their agents and the conversations they're having, even though now it's remote. That insight was there. In fact, arguably, it was more insight than what was there prior. So in some ways, you'd argue you actually, 1+1 = 3, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing this across, like when COVID first hit, we actually had to do like 7, 8 emergency integrations where people are like, okay, I'm sending all my agents home. I probably had Observe AI installed on one business unit. Now I want to go enterprise wide, and I want to do it quick. We've actually taken live thousands of agents in the month of March and April on like 1 day notice, 2 day notice, because people all realize that, okay, now my agents are working from home. I want a solution that can monitor 100% of their interactions, not just to spy on them, but actually make sure that they actually get all the information they need to actually be more impactful, right? We had to accelerate our agent facing application so that an agent can essentially have full purview of what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong, because now he does not have a supervisor to come and whisper in his ear or walk on the floor and help him.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually use Observe AI as a platform to self-learn. Okay, this is what my rest of the team is doing. This is what I did right. This is what I did wrong. Okay, this is where people are not being happy with the answers I give them. So again, everybody has, they're saving travel time. They have a little more time, which they're spending on tools like Observe and using it as a self-help platform. And it has actually benefited everybody.
Yeah, I think one of the trends, which I think hits on what you're talking about, is that companies, whatever they've saved, let's say in terms of real estate, your example with the BPOs, is money now they're actually using to invest in their employees. The creation of super agents, which is a term that was coined last year and has sort of taken off. And then it's all about consolidation of the agent workspace, but then enabling or empowering their supervisors to derive value and outcomes from the data, which is obviously what AI and Observe.ai and tools similar to that enable. Look, Sharath, I know you're a busy guy. I want to thank you for your time. Any parting thoughts?
No, absolutely. I think thank you so much for having me here. I think 3CLogic has been an awesome customer, awesome partner. I think the rate at which enterprise support is scaling, I think what 3CLogic provides from a very robust infrastructure, robust scale, and what Observe AI can actually come in as a valued partner to make sure that we bring in that intelligence layer to actually collectively help our customers to be more successful. I'm super excited by that trend. And again, look, at the end of the day, the world is not the same as it was in 2019. The world has changed. Technology has actually changed the world for better, and we are all stronger together. And I'm personally excited by the outlook of the transformation that will come in the near future, and the role that AI and innovation will actually have a role to play in it. So I'm personally excited. But thank you so much, G, for actually having me on this fireside chat today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And look, I couldn't echo more. I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, your success at Observe.ai, the demand for your services, ours, and so forth, just highlights one of your earlier points, which is that voice is still a relevant part of the equation, but obviously not the only part of the total equation. So it's how you bring it all together that's going to be an interesting, evolution. Both this year and the years to follow. Sharath, again, couldn't thank you enough. For those of you who have questions as a result of this session, put them in the chat box below. And myself and Sharath will be happy to answer them. But again, thank you for joining this 3CLogic Fireside Chat. Sharath, I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See ya.